to be kind of gearing towards what the current state we're in with this world pandemic. So to help us really thrive in the way we maybe not have envisioned for ourselves before, but ways we need to thrive going forward, because times are changing and it will continue to change. So I'm just so honored to have you on and to speak to everybody that's needing to hear how we can really thrive in the position we're at right now.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you. Well, being said, I know you have pivoted in big ways yourself in your career and how you help people now build a successful personal brand and create massive revenue through courses and social media. So I want to talk about how you got into entrepreneurship, even to begin.
So my journey began way back in college, which now I have to say is like over 10 years ago. But I was actually going to school. My degree was in physiology and chemistry, and I was supposed to go to med school. Like that was always the game plan from, high school, college, et cetera. And while I was in college, I kind of started learning just more about, what my own passions were and what my own interests were. And while I was in school, two things were happening. I had left being an athlete my entire life. Like my whole life I was playing basketball, running track and field. I got to college, was no longer doing that. So I was working out on my own and trying to stay fit. And the second thing that had happened was, even though I had this passion for the human body and physiology and thinking, oh, I'm supposed to go to med school and be a doctor so I can help so many people, I was learning kind of like the more holistic side of healing and being healthy from the fitness space, and learning from magazines and training myself at the gym now to now being in a classroom where I was being taught that, as a doctor, you're going to be just like prescribing people things and you're not really dealing with root issues. And you're just, it's such we need doctors in this world, obviously, and all of that. But my beliefs and what I wanted to do with my life, I was kind of at a crossroads where I was like, okay, well, I'm not really agreeing with like trying to fix people with medication when all they really needed to do was just work out and be fit and, be healthy in that sort of sense. So that was my first, like, okay, this isn't feeling right. The second thing that happened in college was I had to get a job. I had to make some additional income. Parents were giving me some money, but of course, as a, kid in your early 20s or late teens, you're wanting extra money to have fun. So I got a job, and I got two jobs. I got one at the college bookstore, and then another, I got bartending on college campus, which was a lot of fun. So with that, I also got into promo modeling, that kind of stuff as well. So I had different tastes of how I was able to make money during this time. I had the job at the bookstore, which was the corporate, where, I was told when I could take days off, when I couldn't, and, the hours that I had to work and show up. In bartending, it was fun because it was a job where you never knew how much money you were going to make, but it was usually a lot and it was really good. And then I had the promo modeling and stuff like that, which was a really great hourly rate. And I could choose when I wanted to work. Like I would apply for the hours that I wanted and got booked for the jobs, that I kind of wanted. So when all this is happening in like a very short amount of time, this is like a 2 or 3 year span in my college years, that's when it was like, okay, it's time to graduate. It was time to apply to med school. And it was just like one thing after another where it's like, okay, I'm not fully aligned with going to med school, even though my parents were pushing me to do that. So I had to have that conversation where, mom and dad, sorry, I'm just going to take a year off and figure it out conversation, where I already knew deep down inside I was never going to go. It was just more to try to appease them, which was still hard. They were still very upset with me, but that's put in that little basket there. But then I'm looking at, okay, these different ways that I'm now making money, and I'm getting a taste of it where I'm making really good money. And I learned how I wanted my lifestyle to look and how I didn't want it to look. So obviously the corporate route was not appealing to me. I hated, even my boss at the time was very mean. It was just terrible working environment. But then my other jobs where I was making great money and kind of more flexible with hours, that was fun. So when I graduated, this was before entrepreneurship was cool. It wasn't really a thing. It was actually more kind of like looked down upon, like, oh, like you're an entrepreneur. Like, does that mean you just don't have a job and you just like do random things for money, right? So that's when I kind of got into the place of myself being like, okay, my parents are now upset with me. I'm not going to med school. But now I really have to prove it. I have this fire under my ass to like, okay, I got to get it together and figure it out. So throughout, my early 20s, that's when I put the promo stuff, modeling, that's when my modeling kicked off, my acting, all of that, really worked on that. And then from there, it kind of started growing into what it is today.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I know that. So you got into the fitness world and that took off. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So with that, I kind of just fell into that naturally and organically because Instagram had launched, and I was also just like posting more healthy stuff with foods and workouts. And, I was in modeling. So I was doing like the bikini shoots and the fitness shoots. And so that I kind of started posting on Instagram before, obviously this is way before influencers were ever a thing. Um, so I started growing my online community there just kind of by accident, just by sharing what I knew. And that's when people were coming to me asking me for, more tips, more like workout programs, or putting together different like little challenges or whatever. So I really started paying attention to what my audience wanted. And then with that, I kind of took it upon myself to like use YouTube or just like other resources. Cause again, this was a time that even just like business coaches weren't even a thing. Like it was like Tony Robbins and that was kind of it, So like it wasn't as popular as it is today. So I took it upon myself as an entrepreneur and business owner to like learn as much as possible to help grow that business. So as I grew on Instagram, that's how I kind of grew my fitness following. And with that, I started kind of paying attention again to what was happening in the space. And I started getting a lot of questions from people asking me, Sam, how do I become an influencer? How do I get the paid collaborations and sponsorships? How do I grow my engagement and my following? So again, the entrepreneur in me is like, okay, well, I'm getting all these questions and I'm getting way more questions than I would as a fitness person. Like I wasn't getting the workout stuff, so somewhat here and there, but more people were interested in the business of being an influencer. So I took that. I was like, you know what? I need to create a course because I keep getting the same questions, and I'm now seeing in the space, okay, people are doing programs, coaching courses, etc. Let me tap into this because I don't really see the influencer ones being answered. Because as an influencer, here's another part of this business, and this, I think you can relate to this, especially in just like modeling and acting in general. No one really wants to give away those secrets because people don't want to create competition for themselves if they know how to book those jobs or collaborations or sponsorships. But from where I come from, like I know this from the modeling side of things where, if you don't get booked for a job, it's not necessarily you. It's like, well, you didn't have the right hair color, or you just didn't have the right personality. You didn't have the right fit for that client. So for me, when I share, even just when it comes to jobs or influencer secrets or et cetera, like I don't believe that I'm creating competition for myself, because ultimately like that client or that brand or that company is going to pick that person that's the best fit for them. And even if you share like with someone else your tools of the trade, like maybe like you weren't even going to get that job anyway, and you just helped somebody else out. So for me, I was excited to share how to help others get to that point. And then from there, it just kind of grew and grew and grew.
And I know then you created your new business, which is so amazing. It's crazy because you went from completely heavy hardcore into the fitness industry where you're promoting your workouts and obviously working with brands and all that. And then you pivoted completely into a new business, which was business coaching and serving people of how they could build their identity or their personal brand online and build their following and revenue and all that. So how did you make the switch? Because that's really challenging. I've been in this situation actually. When I launched Passion Love Pursuit, originally it was a blog for travel and charity, and I built that up on Instagram, and I developed a big following or decent following. And when I decided to start Passion Love Pursuit podcasts, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep the brand, but somebody recommended I should just keep the brand because I built up Passion Love Pursuit. So I'm like, okay. And I made the switch and I started posting things about a podcast. I kept my content of what I put in my captions the same, which was a lot of positivity and, really building up your mindset and personal development and all that stuff. I I kept the same captions, but my pictures changed, and I got a huge drop in my following and engagement tremendously. And I was like, oh shoot, I don't know if that was the wisest thing to do. So I'm curious for you, going from posting fitness photos, fitness workouts and everything, and going into a totally different thing, business coaching. How'd you do it? How'd you do the switch to keep your following or keep your engagement, or what happened from there?
Yeah, so great question, because this is something that I especially see, especially right now in the time that we're in, with
Mm.
people pivoting or being nervous to pivot or just not knowing how. So this can apply here as well. So when I started with this pivot, at first, when I launched my first course for the influencers, I was still positioning myself as a fitness influencer because I was still tailoring to that market. My second course that I launched, and this again came from my audience, because they were like, Sam, like, okay, I'm not an influencer, but I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. Can you teach me the same? Like, can you help me too? And it was like, yeah, of course. Like, it's just rearranging certain things in business structure to tailor both audiences, but it's very similar game plan as far as launching and scaling a business online versus being an influencer online. So when I pivoted to that, that's when I had to make a change in how I come across online as far as pictures go. So I had to make that tough decision of, okay, well, there go all the fitness posts with the sports bras and bikinis and everything, because, like, I know that if I'm trying to be a business coach for entrepreneurs and business owners, like, they're going to probably, if they saw my profile, how it was back then, it's just real. They're not going to take me seriously as a coach. It's just not going to happen. And I wanted to place myself in a way where I could work with Fortune 500 companies and big businesses and be taken seriously and show up on LinkedIn. And there's no kind of difference between my platforms. So I had to make that decision. And when I rebranded, it was scary because I went through the same thing. Like, after a couple posts, like, at first I just kind of sprinkled them in. Like, it would be a couple fitness posts and like a more businessy post with like a jacket on or something. And of course I saw kind of like a little bit of a dip. Some people thought like, oh, like that's just like a cute from like a photo shoot or something, like, oh, that's cute. And then when I really decided I had to make the change, and I was very vocal with my audience about this, I showed up on stories and I told them, hey guys, I know, you were following me for my workouts, or you're doing this, but I just want to let you know, like, moving forward, I am going to be talking about X, Y, and Z, which is like all business related. Like, I'm going to help you with social media strategy, how to launch a program or online course. I was very particular with like how I put my messaging across in that sense. And I did it consistently, probably for like 2 to 3 weeks, or probably like over a month. I'd show up on stories and just kind of like touch base on if I was sharing something businessy. And I would get some messages being like, well, Sam, are you still going to be posting workouts or anything like that? And I'd be straight up. I'd be like, no, I'm not. But, and I'd always recommend a friend of mine that is in the fitness space. I'll be like, no, because a lot of people did come to me for help. So I didn't just want to be like shutting my doors. Okay, figure it out. Bye.
Yeah.
I would be really, really supportive with, if someone did come to me and ask me, I'd give them that referral of like, I'm not going to be posting, but my girlfriend here, like, she posts amazing videos. Go follow her, go buy her programs,
Oh, that's
etc.
amazing.
So I did a handoff like that. But I think being very honest and vocal with your audience right off the bat really helps that transition, because they're not feeling like, what the fuck, but they're more just like, oh, okay, like, I get it. Like, she's just not doing that anymore. It doesn't make sense for her. Totally makes sense. I get it. And then they can decide, are they going to continue following you or not? And, if I did lose followers and my engagement plummeted. But, and that was the scariest part, because even as a
Right.
social media strategist and an online business coach, I'm the first person to say, don't worry about your numbers. Like, don't worry about the likes. Like, don't worry about that. Like, that's just superficial. Like, just focus on, but when you're like in that position yourself, when you're not losing stuff drastically, it's like, oh God, did I make the right decision?
Right.
Do I keep moving forward? And at the end of the day, I took my own advice that I would give to my own client, and that is, stick with it, because if you don't stick with it, you're just going to confuse the hell out of your audience. And that's the
Right.
last thing that I wanted to do. So my whole transition period of this was really just showing up more in business more often, and doing this probably for about, it took a good 2 to 3 months of consistently showing up every single day. I didn't have to post every day, but I was on there like giving tips, giving advice on social media strategy, online business building tips, like really just nurturing my audience with like, hey, if you want to stick around and watch my stuff, this is what you're getting. And the great part about that was, especially with my sort of pivot, is most of my following, like because they're online on social media, most of them can take what I'm teaching and apply it, because usually everyone
Right.
that's on Instagram is trying to do something and grow anyway. So it kind of worked out. But my biggest piece of advice is to stick with it. Like if this is your game plan of like, okay, I want to make this change, I'm not going back, stick with the change and just don't go back. And the one thing I noticed is my likes and comments, whatever, went down for a certain period of time. But at the same time, my bank account went up, because even though I wasn't getting thousands of likes anymore, those 50 people that did like that post, 5 of them would message me and 1 of them would purchase my course. So,
Amazing.
and now it wasn't happening in that way in the fitness programs or anything like that for me, because of course, like so many people are selling them and et cetera. But we focus on the real numbers, which is, you know, what's coming into your bank account. Like that's the numbers you should be paying attention to, not the likes and comments. It becomes a different thing when you look at the likes and comments as far as like an analytical purpose. Like, am I posting content that just sucks? Like, and no one's just getting it? Like, it's a different sense. And is it the engagement of what you're posting, or is it like what you're posting?
Hmm. I love that advice, that you kept on showing up every day and letting your current following let them know the transition and how you're going to
Mm-hmm.
serve going forward, and then they can make that
Yeah.
choice. That is so valuable. And I
Mm-hmm.
I wish I knew this when I first started Passion Love Pursuit podcast. I did not. I slowly announced it. I mean, basically when I launched the podcast, I'm like, ta-da, but
Yeah.
I didn't slowly bring people into it. So I think that is really valuable advice, um, and also passing along a recommendation, like here's this person. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
great. Again, that's such good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so with that being said, where do you think people should start? So we're at a time right now where I think a lot of people are going to start to pivot into new ways. And of course, we're all trying to build online things because our time
Mm-hmm.
is changing. And you're definitely the one to speak about this. But where should we start if we are trying to build something online, or courses, to show up on social media more? What's your best recommendation?
I think the best place to start is, I mean, it completely depends on where you're starting from. So I'll take it from like completely maybe new, you're pivoting, is just to really figure out what your wheelhouse is. Because right now I wouldn't recommend pick your niche and stick to it, because the environment is so different. Where figure out what your wheelhouse is. Like, what skills do you have? What credibility do you have in those areas? What are you certified in? What can you actually teach on and train on? So make sure that you stay in your wheelhouse. But from there, it's really about talking to your audience. So I am literally, my entire business has been built on me asking my audience what their problems and struggles are. I literally take them, like if
Wow.
you guys see my office, I have like multiple whiteboards with multiple rows of post-it notes, and I put on there, whenever I do polls on my stories, it's on it, like, yeah, it's for fun, but it's literally market research every single time to
Amazing.
figure out what my audience is struggling with, and then check that out. And what I do is I will do a poll. What are you currently struggling with? And if you do have a niche, for example, in health and fitness, or working from home, or with daily life right now, something like that. And then what I do is I will take any of those responses and I'll put into my iPhone. I have a notes section of problems and struggles of my audience. And I'll start making a list of like all the problems and struggles that people have. And then I'll start combining them like into like little groups, like, oh, okay, so this has all got to do with social media questions. These are all supposed to do with like online business, or, you know, random, like whatever that looks like for you. Put them in a little groups and then take a look at those. And once you start doing this for like a couple weeks or even a month or two, or I pretty much do this all the time now, is you kind of start seeing a trend of what your audience needs and wants are. So from that, whatever your expertise is, what can you create from that? What offer can you create? Is it something that you can answer in a mini course? Can you do an online training program? Can you create a course? Like, what product can you create from all those problems and struggles that you can wrap up and sell to your audience? And that way, because I see a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, they'll like go out and be like, oh my gosh, like really love, doing fitness. And I think people really want to learn X, Y, and Z. And then they go out and they create this whole entire program, and then they try to sell it to their audience. And they then wonder why they hear crickets and can't sell anything, because the market didn't want that. They didn't need it. There was no desire for it. So when you reverse engineer that process of really speaking to your audience, figuring out what they need and want, and if your wheelhouse can create that for them, that's when you can, launch with selling. And basically all of your, even your sales marketing, you're taking all the verbiage of what they're submitting to you, use that same kind of verbiage in your sales pages, in your messaging, because then they feel like, holy shit, like that girl's talking to me. Like I said that, that's exactly what I'm thinking. So it's such a great, that's what I love about Instagram and social media, is when you use it correctly, like it literally creates the products and services that you need to sell for you, just if you know the right tools to do it right.
So magic. I love it. I love how you utilize, by asking the questions, you then create the content to provide that, and you could possibly then sell it. So creating courses, I'm curious, what is your favorite go-to platform to create courses, and how did you learn it on your own? Because I know you started this so early on when not many people were in this
Yeah.
industry. So how
Yeah.
did you start to create, and what's your favorite platform?
Yeah, so my courses over, I think the 6 years of me doing them have evolved drastically. Like, I mean, I started doing stuff, I think, in like Word docs, like way long ago, just like, saving them as PDFs and delivering them in that way. Then it kind of evolved to doing stuff in Facebook groups and putting content in there and using the module kind of sections in there and really organizing myself to then after that, when I was making money. And here's the biggest tip for entrepreneurs and business owners: if you're just getting started, try to do everything the most free way possible. So if you're not making any money yet, and you're wanting to launch a course, like there's a very easy and great way to organize yourself, to even just use Google Docs with modules and PDFs and videos and organize yourself. And that's a free platform to use. If you're starting to make money, you can invest in sites like I started first on Thinkific, which is a fairly inexpensive platform. And then most recently, I think over the last year, I switched over to Kajabi, which is a more expensive platform. So at the end of the day, whatever platform you decide to use, or just anything in your business, the fastest way you can shut your own business down is when you start getting into debt because of these little business expenses, which you didn't need right off the bat. You can upgrade yourself every time you run a launch or a course and you make sales, and you can start upgrading things in your process. But the way, even just like how I even learned any of these things, I am a huge self-teaching YouTube nerd. Like I have learned everything pretty much that
Amazing.
I know before I started investing in business coaches and masterminds, which is also key. But I'm a very DIY person. I'm a nerd. So I just love to watch videos and take notes and try and error and test it. And I'll do as much research as possible. And I've always been that sort of way throughout my entire life. And I love it. And I think that's also what makes me such a great teacher, is because, even if one of my students has a problem, maybe I can't answer it. Well, I'm going to find it out, and I'm going to teach and learn it in order to do that. So I think figuring out at the end of the day, just figure out what platform is best suited for whatever product you have to offer. And then just making it not be so expensive for yourself as far as costs go before you're ready.
It's great advice. And so I've heard you talk about, you're kind of, you go against the grain by talking about you shouldn't monetize your passion. So I want you to talk about your perspective on this and why so, because I know we're always told if you can monetize your passion, that's the route you should go. So what's your take on this?
Yeah. So, I mean, I did that. That's why I got into fitness, because I did it every single day. I loved it. I was an athlete my entire life. And then when I got to college, my idols was Jamie Eason and, all those girls way back in the day. And I was like, oh, I want to be like them. And yeah, I can do that because I love fitness and I can work out. So what happens here when you do that is just like anything else, when you're passionate about something, but imagine doing that passion over and over and over, 24 hours a day, 12 hours a day, not just for yourself, but to help other people with that too. So what happened to me was, towards the end of it, and it was almost just thank God, I got into the influencer coaching space and then into business coaching, because I was already kind of getting to the end of my rope of do I really, being a fitness, even just being a fitness influencer in general, like creating all the content for social media is,
So
that's
much.
your job. Like I have so many friends, like literally so many best girlfriends that are fitness influencers. And even just like what I did when I was like that, during that time, the time it takes to create all those contents, the workout videos, the programs, it's literally a full time job. Like it's wild. So when you're doing all of that, then you're also working with clients and you're doing with all that, it starts not becoming a passion anymore for yourself. It was something that I took, like, I love to work out, an hour or two a day, to now it's my life. So it's a trajectory to get burnt out quickly. Of course, it's one thing also, this doesn't happen to everyone. It's also how you manage that energy and everything. But for me, I started to feel like, because I was putting so much effort into this stuff, when I just even I couldn't even go do my own workout anymore, because
Right.
every time I was working out, I was filming it, I was taking pictures. Like it wasn't like a release for me. Like it wasn't that passion. Oh, I love to just go on a run, or I just want to go lift weights. So when I got into coaching, like that lit up my fire inside. And I feel like I know I could literally do this forever and be so happy, because I love, with my students that I work with, like just getting them those aha moments, or seeing them have their, even just the first 5K month, and like going from, oh my God, I'll never make money, to like, holy shit, I got $5,000 or 10,000 or whatever that looks like for them. Like that is something that I love to do. And I know for me, like I finally found like my purpose and my drive. And then I turned fitness back into, it's just fun. It's just for me. I'll post things every now and then, like when I feel called to share something cool that I did at the gym. But it went back to, this is like my passion, my own outlet, my release. So
Ah,
it, yeah.
no, I completely see your perspective in that, and that's a very good point. I actually I mentioned that to one of my friends, like, "Oh, you love working out so much. Maybe there's something here. Maybe you could start, coaching
Mhm.
people." And because she was kind of considering pivoting her career, and she said the same thing as you. She's like, "No, like that's like my time. I love working
Mhm.
out so much, so I don't have a passion to coach it." And
Yeah.
I could see why it's smart to not necessarily monetize your passion. You have to kind of consider, like you said, the takeaways, and to see if it actually makes sense. So I like your perspective on that for sure. And so on another note, I know you talk a lot about manifestation and creating the space to welcome new things. And I know that
Mhm.
one of the things you did, which is such a ballsy thing to do, is you shut down a very successful business that you had before to go full into your business coaching. So
Mhm.
can you talk about what that looks like, what you do to create the space, and how that served you when you did that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I completely like geek out on manifestation and law of attraction. It's something that I kind of started talking more publicly about on social media over the last couple of years. And I'm not sure if it's because I came more from, I was raised kind of pretty like strict Catholic. And with that, just when I moved to LA, I dove more into my own spirituality and learning the power of just the mind in general and the law of attraction. So for me, I know that when I really started tapping into that, so of course, like maybe it was like 6, 7, 8 years ago, everyone probably first gets a taste of The Secret as the first thing, like way back then. And that's when I really started using those tools and methods for kind of figure out what I wanted for my life. And I know looking back, like it's why I am at where I am today, because I allow myself the time to just like sit with my thoughts, sit with my feelings, sit with my emotions, and really create this plan of what I ultimately want from my life. So I created this process called, and I ended up creating this methodology out of it, and it's called the manuscripting method, which is pretty much like scripting out to the universe, like uh, scripting out what you want, like goals, like whether it's financial, career wise, relationship wise, living lifestyle wise, etc. Asking for what you want, but acting as if you already have it. So I created this like little workbook for myself of doing this process, and I've been doing it for like a little over 2 years now. And the things that have come to fruition just from that alone have been mind blowing. And with that, just kind of tying it back to with the company and the business side of leaving a business and starting this one. So alongside of in my 20s, I had a video production company, which I didn't touch on earlier because there was a lot of things going on at the same time. But when I was a model actress, I ended up creating a business, a video production company, where I would create videos for different corporates for like their Amazon pages, websites, YouTubes, you name it. It was like unboxing videos, etc. It was basically me being a spokesperson for them on you know, virtually through for their businesses. So that company I had for about 5 or 6 years, and I closed it down last year, and it had made, it was making like 6 figures a year. Like it was like, and this was like a side business on top of it, everything else that I was doing. So it was like kind of one of those moments where I'm like, I kept going with it because it was like, why would I shut down a business that's doing well? Like that's just,
Right.
to anyone that I would talk about it, like my friends would be like, no, don't shut it down, you're crazy. And then I'd be talking to like my business coaches and be like, Sam, well, if you want to grow if you're not passionate about it, because I was losing, like, I was just like kind of over it at that point. After that many years, I was working on, it was me basically working on other people's businesses and projects, and it was taking away time from me working on mine. So I was getting that resentment factor of like, oh, I can't move forward with my business because this is taking up way too much of my time. And I know you can kind of relate to
Yes.
that with,
Yeah.
with what you've done.
Mhm.
So throughout this entire time, you know, of using my manuscripting process and this law of attraction and everything, I was really just kind of like scripting out what I wanted my life to look like. And it was just one day that I just woke up and I just had to make that hard decision. And I'm not even sure why it came to me that day or whatever. Like, I just believe, you know, timing is everything. And I was in that alignment, and I just had to kind of announce, and I'm like, I told myself, and then I said it out loud to myself. And then I told my boyfriend, I was like, I'm shutting down this business today. Like I'm emailing my clients, I'm shutting it down. It's done. And he was like, oh, it's like, okay, awesome. Cool. We'll figure it out. Like, it's fine. Like your business, like, cause my coaching businesses were starting to do well, but it was nothing to replace the income that I was about to lose with this video production company. But I knew in order for me to get to my next place, like I had to make this move. So I did it. For about 2 or 3 days, I was just bawling, crying. Like, honestly, like I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm supposed to do this. I know I'm supposed to do this, but I'm trusting the universe. And here's the power of like what I believe. Like, if you want something more, like you have to do a clearing out. You have to do a clean out of your space, of your energy, of your time. It's like, I like to call it the car in the garage method. Like, if you're trying to get that new car and you have a piece of shit car sitting in your garage, like you're never going to get that new car because there's no room for it. You have to get rid of the piece of shit car first in order for this new car to come in. So I just trusted and believed in that, shut down that video production company. And then within like a couple of weeks, had like my launch went amazing because I was finally able to put so much time and effort into my business. A couple months after that, I had gone into a partnership with a business partner of mine where we made over 6 figures in our first launch, which was my first 6-figure business launch ever, which was insane.
Amazing.
And just everything kept on just like happening in a way where I was like, oh my God, I'm literally like living the life that I've literally been journaling about and scripting about. And I just never knew how I was ever going to get to that place. But it was the power of like, when you're mixing these two things together, when I'm talking about, it's, you know, with the power of manuscripting, and my method is, you know, you can write things all day long, but it takes you to make those small little actions in order to allow things to happen too. So you can't just write something and sit back and relax and be like, okay, I won $1 million. And you keep writing about that, and you're going to like $1 million is just going to fall magically into your account. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like, you have to feel the nudges of the universe and feel that pull and really listen to your inner guidance and intuition to have all of those things happen for you. So it's crazy how that was one of like the scariest, craziest things that I ever did in my life as far as financial decisions go. But at the same time, I literally replaced that income within a couple months in a way that I just had never even really planned on doing.
So give us an example of the manuscripting method that you do. And you do this every morning, correct?
Yes, every morning. So what I would do, and the power of this is, you have to do it when you first wake up in the morning. So this is before you dive into your phone or have any conversations, or, if you have a partner or whatever. But like, even with my boyfriend, he knows that, when I wake up in the morning, I like to just kind of go do my morning ritual. We don't really talk or anything and he does his morning thing. So we don't really even like talk or anything until we're both done with our stuff. But the power of that is, when you wake up, it's like your mind just has this, like, I like to say, like a clean slate. Like, you might be carrying a couple things from the day prior, like maybe if you had an argument with someone or things are going on in your job or business or whatever, that's normal. But you can get yourself to a place with like a meditation before this process to kind of get your mind right. But the power of doing my manuscripting method first thing in the morning is you're automatically diving into the thoughts subconsciously of thinking about, the goals that you want, and whether that's financial, career, business, relationships, lifestyle, etc. When you're putting all these things down on paper and you're already in that state of gratitude, like you've already received it, you're already subconsciously planting those seeds. So the power of that is doing that first thing in the morning is, for the rest of the day and moving forward, you're already subconsciously making decisions without really paying too much attention to it. You're making those decisions to propel you more closer towards reaching those goals. So, and I've noticed this because I would write stuff and journal about things. And then I would notice maybe like 3 or 4 months later, when I kind of almost forgot about it, I'll like go back and be like, holy crap, like this happened. And I kind of forgot that I like put that out there, but I wrote about this like months ago. So just the power of just setting yourself up with that positive mindset and the power of the subconscious mind to move you forward is really great.
I love it. I love it. Sounds amazing. And sounds like it's definitely something that, I mean, our morning rituals are really the most vital thing that we need to implement in our life to move it forward. So I love that idea. And of course, same with like the gratitude journal is another great addition to add to that. But I love also having a vision to where you want to take your days is powerful, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
So you talked about you got into a partnership with a friend, and I'm curious, for people that are starting, pivoting into new careers right now, do you recommend at a time like this, should we possibly utilize collaborations with others, or would you say that, what's your take on that? Like, where would you recommend collaborations?
I always recommend collaborations as far as, whether you want to host, even just do like an online collaboration with like going live together. But when it comes to even just like doing like a product or a course or something like that, you can come together as like a powerhouse to collaborate. I always recommend collaboration so you can both utilize your own networks and you can kind of go further. As far as really diving into, a business partnership with somebody else or anything like that, I always recommend, don't dive straight into, okay, well, let's do this and let's form an LLC and let's, get all those things in order and let's just go. Because you really want to treat like even just business partnerships and collaborations kind of like dating. Like, you don't meet a guy and get married the next day, like you're dating for a long time and see, is this going to work out? Is it not going to work out? Are we on the same page or not? So whenever I do longer term collaborations, that's how I treat them. And then just kind of like have some agreements in place going into that. Because a lot of people, they'll do collaborations with friends and like projects and whatever. But so when it's like something like that, where it's a program or a course, do it that way before you get, LLC married to that person and form a business. But as far as other collaborations right now are super key. Like, I'm doing a couple with some of my friends where we're in the process of getting those together now, where, I have a course on social media. Another friend of mine has a course on like planning out your daily business like at home. And so we're bundling, like I'm bundling my program with her program into like a 3-pack program. And we're doing a collaboration on selling that. So that's an awesome collaboration because it's stuff that you've already created and made, and you're coming together, putting an awesome deal on it. You're helping people and you're being exposed to different networks. So there's different ways to do collaboration. So it just kind of depends on how quick or how long you want that collaboration to go.
Yeah, it's such good advice. And so to add to that, how do you think, or what do you think people should do to invest in themselves at a time that maybe we're a little bit more strapped?
Mhm.
I know that you've been into masterminds, but I'm curious for somebody being in the position there and possibly right now a little bit more strapped, how can we invest in ourselves in wise ways? What's the best route we should take?
Of course. Yes. I'm like even going through that obviously myself right now. And at the end of the day, like I'm no financial advisor or expert, but you know, being smart financially right now is key. But also think about what your ultimate goal is right now. I would purchase and invest in a way that is going to help you get to that goal. I wouldn't, if you have this goal and you're like, shoot, like I know this person is going to help me, like she is an amazing coach or this is an amazing program. And I know if I take this, like it's going to help propel me forward. I need to invest, then do it because right now is the time to like, we're all at home. We have this time. Like I'm more creative. I'm getting more shit done now than I have in a really long time because of this container that we are in. So if you're at a point right now where it's like you have the time, you have those extra funds, and you know that you're going to be committed to going through that program, of course, and you know it's going to be that game changer for you in order to like launch your business or to sell more or to, position yourself in a way that's going to help you like make more money. Yes, definitely invest in that. Be smart. Um, with that. And then what I was going to say is just even with anything else, so many people are providing free trainings,
Oh
free
yeah.
free courses, free giveaways, free so much free. So at the same time, be smart with what you invest in because I know the power of investing. Like the second that I started investing into a business coach and a mastermind, it literally quadrupled my income. Like it's insane. Like it
Awesome.
changed my life, and I wish I did it in my mid-20s. But it's all learning lessons. So the power of investing is definitely worth it, but at the same time, like right now, like do what you can. There is literally if you're trying to launch a business, sell more, there's no excuses that you can't learn right now because there's so much free out there too. So it's just really like putting in that energy and that effort to go find those people doing those free trainings, free courses, and just to use your time wise. Like instead of Netflix and chilling, like you should be on your computer every day listening to podcasts, watching trainings, doing videos, putting work into your business.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I feel like I as much as I have more time, I might not be going into a place of work. I'm working at home, but I have so much that I want to learn and, so many podcasts I want to listen to, books I want to read and everything. And so my time is as it seems more free, it's actually I'm busier than ever because
Yeah.
I'm so determined to like utilize this time in the best way I can and learn as much as I can during this time. So
Yeah.
I agree. And there's so much free being offered. So
Hmm.
of course, as you mentioned, when you were able to level up and had the financial means to invest more into yourself, you went into masterminds
Hmm.
and getting a business coach and everything like that. So you said that completely served you in a tremendous amount of way, or tremendous amount of ways. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, so this has been so awesome. I mean, I think it's so important for the time we're in, especially, or this day forward. So many of us are trying to create new ways to serve people online and offline when we're able to step outside our home.
Yeah.
But this has been really useful. And I think that so many people could really utilize this time to better themselves and also build something that they maybe didn't have the time to build before. So I'm so grateful, Samantha. You are an absolute gem. And you always shine so bright on camera, on your Instagram and everything, obviously in front of me now. It's just such a pleasure to have you on. And thank you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Erica. Like this has been so much fun. And thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.